next speaker is Mrs. Maria Lucila Belluscio from Argentina, and the subject is dynamic integration.
Thank you very much. I appreciate very much your attention. So, I hope my presentation worked it. I'm very thankful for being here today, sharing my work with you. As you know, the title of my lecture, as already said, it is Dynamic Integration, Perception Development to Expand Our State of Consciousness. I will be talking about a way to enter into an expanded state of consciousness that I call dynamic integration. This is the summary of my work, blending my knowledge in Oriental studies, dance, and psychology. My work nowadays is to facilitate the human consciousness potential development as simply as possible for the greater good. For this, I have structured along the last 15 years a way of learning to voluntarily expand perception beyond our daily senses and enter into this particular state of consciousness called dynamic integration. Raising our consciousness level, perception development leads us to experiencing that we are all part of the unity of reality. This state of consciousness awards us with a strong feeling of harmony and faith in existence that can bring the best of us out to the world. Comprehending this would contribute to stop aggression toward each other, toward other species, and towards the planet. So, I encourage people to practice dynamic integration because I personally believe that striving for inner peace is essential to then convey outside. Well, dynamic integration is considered an altered state of consciousness, a voluntary and exogenic cause. Here, its uses maybe for living in a better way, for dancing, as a musical practice, or for therapy. Its benefits, well, it is difficult to talk about its benefits because everyone can do whatever he is pleased to do with his consciousness. I'm not going to tell you what to do. But I listed most of the benefits that we get for consciousness, for sensibility, for creativity, for movement quality, for resourcefulness, for emotional balancing, which is an important one, for health, for higher mind skills, and for freedom. I was going to ask you to make a practical exercise, but I think we won't have time, then let's better leave it for another time. The continuity of reality. Continuity is the keyword here. When we focus on the relationship between the inner and the outside world, we discover the sensation of continuity. Then we realize that our skin is not... Hello? Now, you hear me now? Okay. When we focus on the relationship between the inner and the outside world, we discover the sensation of continuity. We realize that our skin is not our limit because our perceptive awareness can extend much further. Dynamic integration dance. When we dance in the integrated state of consciousness, we completely rely on the continuity of reality, and this experience, I must say, is just wonderful. Sensing the harmony of existence flowing through us is also a healing experience. As we participate in the consciousness of reality unity that unbeatable support us, our emotional gaps are filled with serenity and confidence. We perceive ourselves being our best version, and so we can see that in others and everywhere. Therefore, we just let our defenses go and open our hearts to the ever-flowing infinite love. The idea of isolation. We are not alone, as I said. As humans, we are part of the field we live in, one precisely capable of self-perception. But that doesn't mean we are isolated from the rest of the reality. We can feel that reality modifies us and then is shaped by our mind in a dialectic relationship in which we are part and all at the same time. We discover new files of information, including electric, magnetic, different wave frequencies, temperature, pressure, our own and others' feelings and ideas, and even spiritual stimuli. As we become conscious of the fluidity of reality, the subtle relation that connects us to our surroundings, we can dance with all our being, including the reality that presents our body. This is a study in grade level. We enter a new realm in which creating the dance is a collaborative matter between all the parts that we perceive as a unity. The integration experience has the power to modify the way we perceive and harness ourselves in the world. Dance is well known as a gate to spirituality or altered state of consciousness, as motion facilitates letting go the rational side of our brain and enter the present awareness. Please notice that mysticism is usually related to religion, and I'm here using the term as the word's root, religare, which means put back together. Guess what? Oh, I spoiled my joke. Well, you have to guess. But the thing is, to put what back together might be meaning putting back together something that was asunder, consciousness and reality. I would like to give some definitions. I try to make it fast so I don't spoil my time. Okay. Reality, state of or quality of being real, the whole endowed with true existence, different from imaginary, meaning inside our mind. But here we get to a struggle, because how do we get to know reality? Now you must guess. How do we get to know it? Through a perception process, taking place where? In our mind. Or place is not very accurate to say, because we shouldn't confuse mind and brain. Yeah? Mind is not physical, it's not a place. Okay? Consciousness. Knowledge apprehension or reflexive knowledge of things. Immediate knowledge that a subject has of himself, his acts and reflections. Some allow the capacity to recognize the surroundings, reality, and relate with it. Here, or up to here, it looks like the consciousness would be the reality interpreter, but it is not thought that way anymore. Now, well, 2 centuries ago, it is thought as the reality producer. I said we perceived reality. Okay, then let's see what perception is. It is a basic cognitive process by which we create a representation of reality. It is performed by our sensing apparatus, the physiological system that enables information to be gained from the outside, from specific interior state, and from the relationship between them. That's a classical definition, at least in psychology. But there are over more than 30 senses that have been described as orientation, balance, perceiving our own and others' feelings, an idea, and a lot more that should be mentioned also. Information management. Our brain, our mind, is able to receive such a great amount of information every minute that it would take weeks to process it consciously. Then we need to filter it. How do we do that? How do we do that? Unconsciously, of course. According to the values taken from experience and culture. Then 95% of the information gained in our mind is unconsciously processed, including a 25% of pre-conscious, which is information we get when we want to, and leaving only 5% to be attended by consciousness. Okay? And finally, reason dismisses most of that 5% by considering it disputable. For example, tell me how many noises or body sensations you ignore since I began speaking. One vibrating thing. I don't want to get too scientific here. Just let me say that there is something about scientists seem to have some kind of subtlety, and it is that what exists is made of something that vibrates. I would better say one vibrating thing. In my experience, it is perceived as the continuity of reality, consciousness, and all that exists. So let us sense it and learn how to willingly harness it in the dynamic integration state of consciousness. How to widen perception? Well, our conscious processing. Okay. That is like the key question. First, I would say that it is not easy because we spend all our lives learning how to filter information and process it in a certain way that looks proven by everyone's experience and makes us feel certain kind of confidence. But that way we learn and practice is just what make us ignore the rest of the reality, okay, which is not in our culture. Then that would be the major struggle. How can we get along this problem? Well, lowering the previous conditioning, submitting to perception, moreover judgments by directing our attention to body sensations. That's where we start these workshops. Because body sensations are like a source of objective information. We cannot deny it, even we do it sometimes, from time to time. And consciously driving the data filtering process to allow the information we want to reach awareness. Okay? We must train for doing it. Becoming aware. In dynamic integration, we learn to perceive what we can all sense, but is usually consigned to the unconscious perception. Extending perception is getting aware of what the lack of education has inhibited. We can decide to harness the vibrating reality instead of remaining unconsciously influenced by it and not even notice it. We can enter a dance much bigger than us, the universe's expressive process. Conclusion. Finally.
First, I could say that perception development leads us to consciously process a broad amount of information that widens our reality experience. Second, in the dynamic integration state of consciousness, we sense, we experience the infinite we are a part of and our individuality both at the same time. Then we learn how to harness the integrated reality of our being. Third, ID is an easy and powerful way to improve our physical, emotional, and professional skills by extending our consciousness resources. And last but not least, the unity awareness we get in the integration experience could have a positive impact on our future behavior, which I believe is an important benefit. Therefore, I would like to wrap up with one last reflection, if you allow me. When we sense ourselves as part of the continuity of reality, we realize how much and in how different ways what happens to others affects us. It does, even we don't realize it. So I believe it is necessary to drive a society conscious of our interdependent nature. Then I will take this opportunity to encourage dancers, teachers, choreographers, researchers, and all of you as communicators to spread out the integration concept in order to raise future generations adapted to social collaborative coexisting. This is what I really think that consciousness development has to offer. Thank you very much.